Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it's been a while since we've had a lore discussion, but Games Workshop posted a Old World Almanack today, which is actually really interesting. It focuses around the Chaos Warriors, what they've been up to, where the hell Asavar Kul is, for example, and also it name drops a bunch of much beloved characters in the Warhammer Fantasy universe that we might not necessarily see in the future just yet. But I feel it's a bit of a push to actually bring them into the game. There's a few reasons. We're going to talk about that. Let's just jump right in. Oh god, Chaos Lore. Awesome. And as you can tell from the artwork, there's like pretty cool artwork. But yeah, let's jump in. So this is a developer interview which we've seen in the past. Let's just read over it. So Chaos in the Old World is not like in the Mortal Realms of the 41st Millennium. We're focusing on Chaos Undivided rather than on the followers of specific gods. Which sounds weird considering that there are name drops for characters from specific gods. The four distinct powers you see in Warhammer Age of Sigmar are indicative of Chaos Victorious, whereas Undivided is in a sense more chaotic. It harks back to the proto-chaos of the old Warhammer, before the individual gods started appearing. The voices of the individual gods are less clear during this time. They don't have their own devoted followers, and their demons aren't abroad. Instead, we're dealing with the writhing mass of Chaos Undivided. So before anything, it's very important to note that yes, demons do appear later down the line in this timeline. Well, you know, if the lore stays the same, and same thing as characters being devoted and so on. Valnir the Reaper, Arbaal the Undefeated, Sylar and Fingrim, those are all characters mentioned in this article. The thing is that at the very beginning, there is a break and a fragmentation towards chaos, right? Asavar Kul has just started, but he is very much a warlord. It's something that if you're very much into old school Warhammer Fantasy, it's the ebb and flow of chaos. Right now they're in the weakest. They'll get much stronger when chaos becomes united and starts leading towards the siege of Prague. But let's continue here. Chaos is definitely weaker during this time period, but it's building up towards a time in which it becomes strong. Okay, look, just literally what I've said there. We've compared this time period to the past to the Horus Heresy. What Horus and Erebus really achieved was to reintroduce chaos into the galaxy after the Emperor had all but wiped it out. The same thing hasn't quite happened in the Old World, but the 11th ever chosen didn't get to ascend to his position because he had been possessed by Be'lakor. That single event derailed the great game of the gods for centuries, weakening their grasp on the world. So this is something, again, I know some people were kind of confused when they're not very used to the lore. There have been multiple Ever-Chosens. This is why we see like the Armor of Morkar and so on. We are now building up to the whole thing with Asavar Kul, which is mentioned in the article. We're going to be talking about that in a second. But yeah, chaos getting weaker and slowly building itself up again. We're not going to see them at their climax, essentially, but that's because of the end time situation. That's when chaos was at its absolute strongest. Okay, next section. By the way, there is also artwork. It's pretty old artwork, but very cool artwork. I've got the article linked in the description below in case you want to check that out. The gods have been biding their time. What's a few hundred years in the lifespan of such a being? It's only the actions of Asavar Kul, the 12th ever chosen, which then put the game plan back on track. Because his predecessor, Khardun the Gloried, was not allowed to do what he needed to do. It left a gap. During that time, the enemies of Chaos fought back, leading to a lull. The lost power is now creeping back into the world. So, yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting. I don't know if Khardun was ever mentioned before. It's a nice name, though. I like that. The shadow of chaos has receded across the world, but the threat is looming once more, and warbands are on the march. The Northern Marauders still raid, but they are barbaric warriors whose gods do not necessarily have their names spoken loudly. We brought back references to the totemic animals, such as the Carrion Crow and the Great Eagle. So this is funny because obviously that was brought back in 2016 because of Total War Warhammer. Once again leading to the whole thing of how closely Creative Assembly and Games Workshop were working together for the creation of the Norska playable faction. I do apologize, there is some very obnoxious drilling happening outside. I'm not sure what's going on, but let's continue. That speaks to a deeper understanding of chaos that the shamans and sorcerers might have but which regular tribesmen lack. It wouldn't be acknowledged head-on that a certain tribe is worshipping corn, for instance. Yeah, so they worship the crow, the hounds. There's a lot of different ways, and believe it or not, if you aren't aware, I mean, it's very simple to go into the Warhammer Wiki, for example, just in case you want that type of information. But there's a lot of names for the Chaos Gods. Like, even in Norska, 5 or 6 different tribes might be worshipping corn, but there are very different names even within just Norska. Well, Norska is very large. The scale that we see the Warhammer Fantasy World, say for example in Total War, is still very small compared to what it should be, so yeah. But yeah, let's continue. The business of chaos has continued, of course. There are still champions doing battle at the top of the world, there are still warbands that roam the Chaos Wastes, and tribes in the Shadowlands. There's enough going on to keep the gods busy, and now there are whispers slowly drifting down from the north of this great chieftain. There's something very threatening about the idea of an ever-chosen, a mighty champion chosen by the Dark Gods for some unknown purpose, leading black-armored chaos warriors and hordes of marauders. They only come along every couple of centuries. Each one has a particular role to fulfill. We don't know what Cardon would have done, and we don't know what most of the 10 before him did. Asavar Kul is significant because he set the stage for Archaon, who is always going to be the one to destroy the world. Okay, so we do need to talk about this because it's a bit of a lore change. Pretty much all the Everchosens were there to destroy the world, right? Well, just to allow chaos to ascend to its highest point. It does look like that's being changed very significantly because now they're all kind of just building their way up. I find that a little bit strange, but hey, that works. That's perfectly fine. Asavar Kul is still a big badass, so let's continue. There's a lot of deep, dark secrets about what Kul gets up to, which we won't talk about publicly. At present, he's a figure in the background, a name in the wind. He hasn't yet, in the 2270s, become a threat to the world, but he's a powerful warlord in the north. So this is what I actually said early on in the video, where, yeah, he's starting, right? It's one of these things where there's always a bit of a build-up. An educated guess would say that we won't see him during the first edition, and it will probably be like second or third until we can get the full, you know, actual fight of chaos and so on. This has been going on for Horus Heresy for a while, where we finally got to the Siege of Terra. Very similar to that, right? Let's continue. He's still gathering his forces and adventuring around the wastes, doing his thing and earning his blessings. So he's getting the blessings of chaos. It's a bit of a shame that we're not going to get a... Well, actually, it would be nice if we got an arcane journal or a campaign book or something to focus around getting the blessings. But yeah. Before him, you'll get the rise of his lieutenants in different parts of the world. See what I mean? I didn't actually read this before. And before that, you'll get a rise of their lieutenants, which is where we start with this arcane journal, with Fridal the Chainmaker, one of 2 characters in this book. Fridal is featured in the narrative, and she's joined by returning character Galrock the Great Drake. He is perhaps the first great dragon to fall to chaos, and turned in a battle alongside the Hyles many years ago. Now, he is confirmed the first. Why perhaps now? But yeah, this is really important because obviously this means that she is a lieutenant for someone else who is a lieutenant for Asavar, which means there's going to be a lot of books. Here's hoping, you know, they did say undivided, but here's hoping once we get closer to the Siege of Prague, we'll start seeing some divided books, especially now as they've been mentioning a lot of big characters. But this is where things get very, very interesting. You see Games Workshop just casually name drop the names of a lot of well-loved characters among some other ones. So let's start off, right? There are other champions you might recognize in operation this time period too. Arbaal the Undefeated is known to be involved in the Siege of Prague, for instance. You'll have all of Kul's lieutenants too. Engra Deathsword, Sven the Bloody-Handed, and others. Valnir the Reaper is alive at this time, and so is Sylar Anfingrim. He has become a spawn right before the siege, but he's still a Norse warlord fighting in the background during our period. This doesn't mean we're going to focus on any of these characters, of course, but they're there in the world, and we have the option to bring them into our narrative. As time progresses, there may be the opportunity to encounter named characters you'll recognize from the world of legend. From now, the spotlight is on Fridal and what she's doing north of the Empire. Okay, so, few things. First up, this new character, she's going to be dealing with issues with the north of the Empire. I guess she's going to attack Nordland and so on. This, I think, all but confirms that the Empire's next. I know some people say, well, it's the High Elves, because the High Elves and the artwork, and they kind of follow the same pattern that we've been seeing for the releases so far. But if she's going to be going into the Empire, and then there's no Empire to be able to buy, yeah, it just seems very, very odd. Plus, Empire versus Chaos Warriors, I think, is very, very iconic. Second thing, right, so all these characters, we've seen a few. Two of them named Syla and Arbaal are devoted of Khorne. Valnir the Reaper is a Nurgle character. All of these guys themselves had models. Arbaal needing a very, very bad upgrade. Oh my god, please, if this ever becomes a model playable, yeah, upgrade. Engra and Sven never had models though, so that's something quite interesting. Engra did have art. It's the art that you can see on screen right now, which sometimes gets confused with Asavar for some reason. I'm not too sure why, but yeah, this is big. All right, so we're likely to see more books. This is something that we've known for a while, that we might see more types of arcane journals, campaign books, and so on. This has been publicly known. So, yeah, characters can come in. Nurgle and Khorne being the big ones during this period. I mean, it would be nice to see a Tzeentch character, which at this point, we'd not get VIKRAM as the colleges haven't been formed, but they could come up with a new one, and that would be absolutely awesome. And then a Slaanesh character. I mean, there's so many that they could go for. I want to see monogod books. This is something that I've been very vocal about for Warhammer the Old World. Monogod books with a unit or two, you know, so Hellstriders for Slaanesh, Skull Crushers for Khorne, something new like the Doom Knights that we've seen for Total War Warhammer for Tzeentch, and for Nurgle, I mean, Rot Knights would be kind of cool. Then upgrade packs for the Chaos Warriors and the Chaos Knights, very similar to what we have with the Horus Heresy right now for your Marines. I think something that would fit in incredibly well. These are the type of lore dumps that I really expect for Warhammer the Old World. They've been fairly good, but obviously when it came to the Dwarfs and all the other factions that we've had so far, we've kind of already known what's going on. This is going, hey, yeah, new character, there's a bunch of them that are still here, by the way. This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. I'll have it linked in the description below. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I am super excited for Chaos. I can't wait to buy upgrade packs, guys. Like, I've said this many, many times. I've been saying it on stream too. I really can't wait to buy upgrade packs for my Chaos Warriors. I'm finally getting the great weapons and halberds for a bunch of units, which I currently have painted, but are armless. So, yeah, that'll be cool. So, yeah, have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.